Welcome to Read Your Comics. Today I'm looking at Fantastic Four 235. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Daryl. I am the host of Read Your Comics, and today I'm looking at one of my favorite John Byrne issues of Fantastic Four. I used to have pretty much the whole run. Unfortunately, it was part of a purge at one point. I recently picked this one back up because I was digging and found it for 75 cents. And as I said, this was one of my favorites and I could not pass it up again. But before I jump into it, I just want to give a quick shout out to all the viewers' support. All your likes, comments, and shares are appreciated. If you're new to the channel or just haven't done so already, be sure to hit subscribe. I'll throw a graphic up right here. Do that now so you don't forget. Go ahead and like the video so you don't forget that either. If you don't like it, you can always unlike it. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything, but that way you just don't forget to do it at all. Of course, all of those things help other comic fans find the channel and just celebrate this medium that we all love. This issue is kind of John Byrne's love letter to Jack Kirby. I mean, his whole FF run kind of is, but this one in particular, I think really encapsulates all the things he was wanting to do to bring back that classic feel of the FF. This is pretty early on in his run. I think he started on 232, if I'm not mistaken. And so this is just within those first couple of issues. And let's just go ahead and dive right in. We got Ego, the living planet, taking on the Fantastic Four. Pretty dynamic cover here where Ego's down here in the corner, doing some eye blast, knocking them all out of the sky or whatever. Terry Austin inks the cover, but he does not do the inside because John Byrne is inking himself on this series. Right off the bat, this is an homage to FF number 4, when the Thing had a bomb strapped to his back and was going into the belly of a giant monster that Submariner was sending on the city. Now, the first time I read this, I don't know if I had read that issue number 4 in the past, but now that I'm very much well versed in the Kirby run, that is totally what this is. But that isn't the only Kirby homage that he's going to do in this. Of course, all of this is Kirby stuff. The FF, Ego, it all comes from, Kirby's imagination. So how can you not homage it? Definitely what we're starting off with here, with the Thing carrying some kind of device into the the ear hole, in this case, of Ego. And it starts you off with the bang. I don't remember how the previous issue ended. It gives a recap here, but I mean, it starts off with the Thing, marching in, and all this dialogue is telling you what's going on as far as, the goop, almost like earwax, that the Thing is stepping into. The pressure from the core of the planet has already eliminated the other 3 members of the team. He's the last one that has to get down there to the core to set this thing off. The heat, all of it, it's just, it's all miserable as he tries to make his way down there. And he takes a break for just a second. And we're going to get a recap of last issue when something happened to the city and the FF take off to see what it is, only to find Ego, the living planet. I love that Ego has a beard and a mustache. That's the funniest thing. Here's this living sentient planet, and he's gonna have a human. Not only is he gonna have a human face with a nose and eyes and everything, but he's also gonna have a beard, which is it's funny in itself, right? My understanding is that other than appearing in Thor a couple times away from Earth, this is the first time the FF or anybody else has really encountered Ego. So I don't know how long it had been since the character had been used, but Kirby obviously did a couple stories with him and Galactus. This might be the first time that I'm aware of that Ego is used outside of those Thor issues. So he's coming into proximity of Earth, and he's coming because he's trailed his enemy. Now, through most of this issue, they don't really say who the enemy is, but it's heavily implied that the FF figure it out, that it is Galactus. And the reason he's come to Earth is because he's followed the crumbs of dead planets up to Earth, so he thinks Galactus is here. And he's seeing a spared planet. I guess Ego has decided that Earth must mean something to Galactus, so ego is going to destroy the Earth. Of course, the FF can't allow that to happen. I love the hexagon patterns too on ego's surface. I mean, you see him here on his head. Um, just really cool character. This right here is one of the early Kirby homages, I think, too. So I wanted to look at this first appearance of Ego in comparison. Obviously, the face with the mustache, not a full beard there. There's a pretty good shot, but it was this panel in particular that I think this is kind of a nod to. There's another one coming up in a second as well. I like this kind of stuff that Byrne executes pretty well. This is kind of a Kirbyism. Have like energy that is so strong that it kind of wide outs and leaves these silhouettes with feathered shading to represent the figures. You got the air cycles there. I love those air cycles. This panel here is reminiscent of Thor taking on the antibodies in this panel. Just another great nod to Kirby. That's why I'm kind of saying this is his love letter to all things Kirby. Even going so far here as to mimic the two action poses of, Thor breaking out and the Thing breaking out. Now, we have 4 characters in the Fantastic Four that all need their moment to take on these things, and they all get it. I love Sue uh, using her invisible platform to elevate herself up, and it herds them into a centered area that then Mr. Fantastic can lasso them up and fling them away. Just slingshot them out of here. So they make it to this thruster, which I think I skipped over that. Ah, yes. So this thruster right here, that is how Ego is moving through space. And this is an interesting panel because they talk about how it's over the horizon. It's so far away that it's that gigantic. They're saying it must be hundreds of miles tall, reaching outside of Ego's atmosphere. So that's where they're headed. And they get there fairly quick. I mean, for it to be over the horizon, they got there pretty quick. And because it's not part of Ego, he can't make these antibodies appear like come out of it. The torch sets like a flaming wall around it, and they're just charging into the fire and burning up, which shocks Johnny to the point of like he thinks they're just going in for suicide. But Reed points out that they aren't living individuals; they're just part of Ego, so they're almost like dead skin walking into the dead skin flakes walking into the flame. Reed even says you destroy more living things, quote unquote, each time you get a haircut. Cut to Frankie Ray, and this is, if you know who Frankie Ray is, she will eventually become a Herald of Galactus. She's kind of another Human Torch, a female version, and Johnny's girlfriend at the time. She sees her naked self in the mirror here, and she suddenly knows why she's got this fear of flames. That's because she can flame on too, but she doesn't know it yet. So that's your like quick little interlude for your ongoing subplots. So Reed is able to decipher this machinery, and he wants to pull out a power pack from these thrusters. Ego, of course, is going to demonstrate his powers some more and throw bone at them, these bone chunks. And we get a cool display of Sue's powers once again as she first creates a shield to deflect them. But then as they run and jump off the platform, they jump into essentially an invisible Fantastic Car, like a bathtub version of it in a way, and they are able to speed off. The backgrounds here that Byrne is doing, I can't tell if these are. It almost looks like coral and stuff, like he's doing a collage, or if he did actually kind of draw some of this. I mean, this is obviously drawn, but this right here feels kind of photostat like. So they go into this open pore and start making their way into the center, and they run into this that they initially think is Ego's brain, but Reed realizes they are way too close to the surface to be near the core enough that Ego has created a false brain to throw them off. Then as we kind of start to catch up, to where we started the story with the Thing, each member starts falling off one by one. As the pressure builds, Reed kind of falls off because it's too much for his elastic body to withstand. He can't like resist it. It's kind of making him cave in. The heat builds up, takes Sue out, and the thing just decides to throw her back forward. Now, I read this with my kids because they love the FF, and they were kind of laughing at this. They're like, "He just throws her?" And I kind of made it an excuse for him. He said, "Well, I guess the ground is soft and mushy. He just wanted to throw her up away from where it's so hot, and she can create a force field and land softly if she wants." Pretty good look though with her, like thinking of it being so hot that she's sweating, that her hair is now kind of dripping wet too. I think Byrne pulls that off pretty well. More of this like organic structure in the background for a small panel. I think it's really giving you that feel. And then just a panel later, Johnny's got a bail too. That it's getting too much for him. The pressure's getting too much, and he's like, "Well, don't go any farther because if you pass out and flame out, then you'll die of the heat. The heat will kill you then." And so he's like, "All right, I'm gonna go take off." So you're kind of like, "Well, where did they go? Were they just gonna wait and see what happens?" But you'd think Ben's going off to like a suicide mission here. And I love all of these panels here of the thing carrying this power pack thing in. Um, it looks like he's walking on like the central nervous system right here. Great color use. This color hold of the blue as he reaches the brain. This is Ego's brain. Now, you might remember this from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. They did this same thing with Ego, except it was Rocket and Groot going to the center to explode, to create an explosion of Ego's brain. They pulled that right from this. It was just Guardians of the Galaxy instead of the Fantastic Four. So, pretty big issue right here. Kind of an underrated one, I would say, for people that collect comics based on the MCU. This would definitely be one to grab. And then he gets some psychic feedback, which essentially catches you up on everything that's happened with Ego to date. So it mentions meeting Thor, meeting Galactus, that Thor once sided with Ego against Galactus, and then the second time sided with Ego, and Galactus added those thrusters with Thor's help, added those thrusters to him and tried to send him off into the dark regions of space, but he was able to use his own, biomass, like antibody things, to take control of the thrusters and then go looking for Galactus. So Ego here, he's not really against the Earth, he's against Galactus, but he thinks Earth is in cahoots with Galactus, so that's why he's willing to take it out. The thing throws this power pack, but it says, and he misses. But I guess it's enough of an explosion to set Ego off that he's ready to go ahead and finish off the Earth. And when he fires the thrusters, because there's only one pack, it sends him spiraling around until he's heading towards the sun. And at that point, the sun's gravity starts pulling Ego apart. So pretty wild. You thought they were just going to blow up his brain and that was going to be it. But really all it did was irritate him enough to turn on those thrusters, but one of the power packs was missing. So I don't think that was part of Reed's plan, but that's how it turned out. This kind of organic goop happening right here, this is a very John Byrne-ish thing. I think this is something that you could identify some John Byrne work if all you kind of saw was this. Much like, Kirby Crackle or Kirby Hands, McFarlane's bushy eyebrows. This is something that I think you could identify as John Byrne. Love a good Hostess Pies ad, especially when the Hulk is involved. He was always eating those fruit pies. And fortunately, where the rest of the team had gone back to the surface, they got in their little rocket ship and were able to go pick Ben up. Now, this part is a little odd because Ben's getting left into the openness of space here. I guess you could say that maybe there was some atmospheric remnants, like there just enough to keep Ben alive, or can Ben survive in space? longer than we realize. Does he just need oxygen? Is he holding his breath? But his skin and stuff can handle all the space radiation and whatnot. I guess so. We wrap up the story and we have a nice kind of one and done ego story here. It even ends like an old Kirby issue of the Fantastic Four just kind of getting their last words in about how the adventure went. And they said it's going to take them a couple of days to get home because they're out near Mercury. That's it. This is a fun issue. That's what I was saying. It's one of my favorite Byrne issues because it is a standalone issue. They also adapted this issue in the 90s cartoon in the second season. It may have been like the second or third episode of it even. Those are on Disney Plus. Go look it up. It's the Fantastic Four cartoon from the 90s. The second season is really good. It actually adapts a lot of the John Byrne run, and this particular issue is adapted in it, and they did it really well. As I said, they use this plot point of taking a bomb to Ego's brain in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Totally underrated, overlooked issue. I don't really want to call it a key, but it's got a lot of elements that kind of could make it considered a key. I don't know. Anyway, that's all I got for this one. Until next time, read your comics. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed my breakdown of this issue, you can support the channel by hitting subscribe. It costs you nothing and helps other comic fans find the channel. You can also visit readyourcomics.com for cool merch, like this. Read Your Comics isn't just a brand, it's a mantra. And when you wear a Read Your Comics shirt, you are helping spread the word. For more classic comics conversation, be sure to follow me on Instagram at read.your.comics. And if you're still here, why not watch one of my older videos? Here or here.